This has been a very long time coming, and I'm very sorry that it's so late, but I actually made this entire video about a month ago. I actually had it completely edited, about 10 minutes away from rendering, and then Premiere corrupted the file, so I lost the entire project. But I'm back, and today we'll be taking a look at the Razer Wolverine Ultimate Edition. In my opinion, if there was a mechanical Xbox One controller, this would be it. Actually, no. Fuck that. This is the mechanical Xbox One controller. This is also the best tournament controller I've ever actually had the pleasure of experiencing. So in this video, we'll be going over the price, the other version of this controller, the features, how this thing feels, its button layout, and if I'd recommend that you buy one. So let's get right into it. So everyone's first question is, how much is this controller? 160 bucks, which is not bad at all, actually. 160 bucks for what I would probably call the most advanced tournament controller out there. Sounds like a good price. But this is the Ultimate Edition. This comes with an RGB strip when I plug it in, 6 buttons, trigger stops, and removable D-pad and thumbsticks. The Tournament Edition of this controller has 4 buttons, 2 on the front, 2 right here. It has the D-pad that is built in, you can't remove it. I also believe it has built-in thumbsticks, you can't remove those either. It's a dumbed-down version of this controller, but in my opinion, if you only need 4 buttons, probably buy the Tournament Edition. It's probably a lot easier to use. These 4 buttons down here aren't hard to use, but they are kind of difficult to get used to. So if you want something that's a little bit easier, get the Tournament Edition, because the buttons are like right here. These 2 buttons are also on the Tournament Edition, so don't worry about that, and I'm pretty sure they're just as mouse clicky as these ones. Speaking of mouse clicks, the ABXY buttons, the M1 and M2, that's what these are called, they all have mouse click switches under them, so they're very, very tactile. This is why I call this the mechanical Xbox One controller. The D-pad isn't that way, and the pause and options, like menu buttons, aren't that way. It actually does make the controller a lot faster in response time too. At least it feels that way. Because, you know, the original Xbox One controller buttons are kind of mushy, and they don't feel like they're fast. Moving on from the buttons, talking about the thumbsticks and the D-pad, we have an extra D-pad, and we also have 2 extra thumbsticks. This is the D-pad that it comes with. This is the D-pad that's in the case, so if you don't like the original one that's on the Ultimate Edition, you can always change it. I wouldn't suggest using the hard D-pad, the one that's solid. I would suggest using this one, the one that comes with. This one's on the controller. When you get the controller, I suggest you keep it on. It's a lot easier to use. Here are your original thumbsticks. They're kind of tiny, regular dome-tipped. And finally, arguably the most awkward one, Extendo. That's pretty much all that's in the case. It also has, just like the Elite, a little thing to hold your cord that it comes with. The cord's one of the regular USB cables. It isn't USB-C, but as you can obviously tell, it is detachable. And I'm assuming since you clicked on this video, you probably already knew that this is a wired controller. But since it is a wired controller, it is very, very lightweight. So first we're going to talk about this little module down here, and then I'm going to talk to you guys about the feel of this controller and what I have all my keybinds set up to. So first off, on the first little button down here, which is all the way to the right, you have the volume button. It goes up 5 different levels, but the thing about this that kind of sucks is if you have your headset plugged into this controller and you have it plugged into your Windows machine, or really anything, the audio is completely channeled through this controller. It's the same thing with the keybinds. Everything's on board. Audio, keybinds, RGB. So if you plug it into a different PC or an Xbox, it'll literally have the same RGB, the same keybinds, everything that you had on a different console or PC. But the thing about audio, and it kind of sucks, is there's 5 different levels. There's like super quiet, just below what I want it to be, and then the third level is like just over what I want it to be. 4 is super loud. You can't change the audio through, like, if you like do this shit, like if you just adjust the audio, it won't adjust. Like if I literally take Windows and I put it on 0 and then I plug this controller in and I plug my headset in, I will still hear sound. So all the sounds are routed through the controller. Kind of weird, but I suppose that's okay. 2 profiles, profile switcher. There's a blue and a green profile. There's a little button right here, or there's a little light right here that lights up when I plug the controller in, so I know what profile I'm on. And there's also the button switching button, which you literally press this to map any of your buttons on the fly if you need to. Real quick, we're gonna go over my keybinds and the feel of the controller, then we're gonna go over the software. ABXY down here, this is M3, M4, M5, and M6. I have my button set to, as I said in my other video, A, B, X, and Y, I believe. This is so I no longer have to take my thumb off my thumbstick, so that way, you know, like, people who edit with B or, square still have problems editing because they have to take their thumb off their thumbstick. It takes time. Just like when you open up a chest and you start spamming X to get all the weapons or whatever, you have to spam X, constantly move your thumbstick. It's a really inefficient way of playing, and I feel like that's the initial reason why controller players got such a bad rap, because we had to move our hands around in certain ways that weren't efficient. But now that there's controllers like this, you can do anything you want. The two front buttons are really weird. I said this in my other video. I have this one as RT and this one as my edit bind on Fortnite. I'm talking specifically about Fortnite because that's my audience. It's a Fortnite audience. So I'd assume that most people are probably coming to this video for Fortnite, but I have edit. So edit, select, confirm. One final thing about this controller before we move on to the software. It's my only complaint. You guys see that? Yeah, you probably don't. But if you do, yeah, the B button wore out. And I'm not saying the B button wore out as in like the button doesn't work. The button works fine. The button is perfectly fine. But the thing is that I think the ink that they use, or whatever type of decal that they use for the ABXY buttons, the B is red, and that red wore out very, very, very fast. I don't know why. I think it's just like a shitty print or something. So do be warned. Your B button might no longer be a B button. It might just be a black button. So now moving on to the software, you can get the Razer Wolverine software for PC and Xbox One. The thing that's super weird about the PC version is you can't control it with your mouse or keyboard, so you have to use the controller. The software is kind of like Synapse, but for your controller, it actually is kind of set up like the Xbox One Elite controller software, just a little bit dumbed down. So when you click on your profiles, you see that there's save to green and blue. These are your profile switchers. So we're going to go to edit, and we can see what we can do with this controller. Now there's a little hidden feature in here, and I've kind of saved this till now, and I'm not mentioning it till now because a lot of people probably aren't watching till now, but this is for the real ones. So if you're still watching at this point in the video, be sure to like and subscribe or something to that avail. Thank you. Now what I'm talking about is focus and agile. Now, these are two buttons, or these are two functions that you can assign to buttons that are very useful for first-person shooter games. Agile is very interesting. Agile is you map it to one of the buttons, and when you click that button, your sensitivity for your thumbsticks goes up by however much you calibrated it to. The original thumbstick sensitivity is 5, but if you up Agile to like 6, 7, or 8, your thumbsticks will move faster when you press the Agile button. Now, Agile's more for like shotgun battles, or if you need to do something with very quick, swift motions. That's what Agile's for. So like if you're in Fortnite and if you're in like a shotgun battle or whatever, and you need a quicker sensitivity, this is something that'd be useful. But focus is the polar opposite. Focus is you press the button, whatever button you have it mapped to, and it will slow down your thumbstick sensitivity. So that way, let's say you're sniping. This is a perfect example. Let's say you're sniping someone, and your thumbstick on its stock sensitivity moves way too fast. You press the focus button, it knocks down your sensitivity by however much you wanted it to, so you can snipe, and then when you're done sniping, you can hit the Agile button, and you're done. This is a feature that is only on the Wolverine controllers, like the Wolverine. I think it might be on the Wildcat too, but I'm not 100% sure. I haven't done too much research on the Wildcat, but this is a very unique feature, and if you're someone who likes to play COD, this is probably a good feature for you. But going through the rest of the software, it's pretty basic, like I said. You can assign your buttons. You can't assign any of these buttons, like the regular buttons, to other regular buttons. The only thing you can assign are any of the regular buttons to all 6 of the extra buttons. It doesn't really matter about mapping, you know, the stock buttons, because you can do that in Fortnite anyways, or whatever fucking game you play. Whatever game you play, I'm 110% positive you can remap the buttons. Lighting, on my BO2 profile, it's just RGB, just rainbow. It has the same ones from Razer Synapse: spectrum cycling, reactivity, immersive breathing, static. It's kind of like Razer Synapse, just dumbed down a little bit. So if I go to static and then I choose the color, I have a preset amount of colors. It's not just, you know, like a color wheel. And you know, there's buttons like reactivity, so every time you press the button, or anytime you really do anything, and then when you're done, you just exit, and you're done. So all in all, what do I think? If you're a box fighter in Fortnite, if you're a trick shotter in Modern Warfare, if you're a tracer in Overwatch, if you're a fucking little child who still plays PUBG, buy this controller. If you do any tournaments, if you're trying to be better, if you're trying to get into the competitive scene, if you're trying to become a better controller player, or if you're just looking for a new controller and are sick and tired of your Elite controllers breaking every 4 months, please buy this. Link in the description. But I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you're new, and I hope to see you guys in my next controller review. Peace.